Welcome, fellow book lovers, to a realm where the lines between black and white blur into shades of morally gray. I'm Brie, and I'm joined by my partners in crime, Lauren and Maggie.
Together, we will have discussions that are as dynamic as our friendship, sometimes harmonious, sometimes a chaotic clash of perspectives. Each episode will be delving into different aspects of fantasy romance novels, sharing our thoughts, debating the characters' choices, and, of course, discussing unhinged theories.
So if you're ready to join us, hit that subscribe button for your new digital book club, grab your headphones, settle in, and let the journey begin. Talk Fae To Me starts now.
All right, here we go, guys. First episode.
I'm feeling good.
Yeah, here we are. I am very excited for this. We have been wanting to do this for a couple months now, right?
Yeah.
All right. So, first things first. Why are we wanting to do this, guys?
This is a book club for everybody that doesn't have a book club, for people that don't know any other fantasy romance readers, and for people who just can't get enough fantasy romance.
Yeah, I mean, I think about it. I dream about it all day long, all night long. It's just every waking moment.
It's daily.
It's constant.
Every single moment, yes.
Yeah.
All right, so Maggie, how did you become a reader? When did you first get into fantasy and everything?
Well, I feel like I read like Narnia in like elementary school, and obviously like that was, like an assigned reading, but it was like an awesome time. And then we read, I don't even know what we started with in like middle school.
Oh, Twilight, girl. Everything comes back to Twilight.
Yes.
I think all of our like fantasy romance awakenings start with Twilight.
Yes. I distinctly remember in 7th grade, I think that was when Eclipse came out. Like, I was a little bit late to the Twilight train. I think we were a little young when it first came out, but I was very much enthralled, especially when the movies were up and coming. I think we were still like in junior high going
What
into
a
high
time to be
school.
alive.
Honestly, truly, like, what a classic. Like, going back, just movie for the ages.
Oh, yeah. Like, so I got into Twilight, I want to say it was like 6th or 7th grade. That sounds right. And so Twilight, New Moon, and Eclipse were already out. And then I remember when Breaking Dawn came out, because Maggie and I
was gonna say that.
we had a sleepover with one of our other friends, and we made her mom take us to Barnes & Noble for the midnight release party of Breaking Dawn, and it was vampire prom, so we wore dresses.
See, listen, I was a Borders girly, which Borders doesn't even exist anymore, but I have gone to several midnight openings, which for all of the younger readers out there, midnight parties don't really happen anymore, but midnight openings for books and for movies where you used to stand outside for hours to like be like book owner number 3 was like, what a time to be alive, to be at the same place with all these people who enjoyed the same thing as much as you did. Like, you don't really get that much anymore because midnight showings are not a thing. Like, we were at a time, like, we were still young and into this at a time where like movie marathons were a thing, and you would go to the movie theaters, and like I remember for Twilight having like the movie marathon where you would watch the first movie, the second movie, the third movie, and then like the fourth movie was like out. It was like
the premiere.
Yeah, like the premiere for the third one. So you would start at like 7:00 at night, and then at midnight that night is when they start playing the brand new movie, and like you can't do that that is not a thing anymore. But
I never went to any of those.
Oh my gosh,
I wish that I remember it happening. Like
I wish I had it available. Oh my gosh, I literally have like memorabilia, like stuff that
from
used
midnight.
to get from like midnight premieres. I'm literally it's in my son's room in the closet. I'm not even joking. It's in there. I have it. I can see the lanyard with like the tag from, I want to say, New Moon.
I still have my Twilight poster in my mom's closet. I'm going to take it back home with me.
Oh yes.
It's Sticky Edward. Is what I call it. He's sticky.
But Lauren, why is he sticky?
Because you and then some other girls dared me to lick sour gel candy off Edward's mouth, and obviously I did it. And he's been Sticky Edward ever since.
See,
and that poster is like
were
10
also,
years old, 15 years old.
Young at a time where awkward phases were still a thing.
Yes, and it hit me hard. So
yeah, I feel like we also need to maybe backtrack. So how do we all know each other? Like, how does this all connect? How do the three of us? How did
this come to be?
Mm-hmm.
I met Maggie in, I think, 2003.
Yeah.
We met in like 2003. It was second grade. Hated her fucking guts. For the sole fact that she stole my Girl Scouts BFF.
I was new and had no friends, and she was nice to me.
What can you do?
Yeah. I was apparently just a very jealous child. And no, we became friends though in like third grade, and we've just been close ever since. And then obviously I met you freshman year of college.
Yep. Lauren and I went to college together. We were in the same sorority, but then coincidentally, Maggie also went to college with us, but they were childhood friends. And so then I became friends with Maggie because I'm friends with Lauren, and here we are 6 years later.
Oh my God, yeah.
Ew.
I know, isn't that gross?
Because we were freshmen almost 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ew.
Freshman in 1 year, it'll be 10 years ago.
Since we started college. That's really nasty. I hate that so much.
Isn't that bad?
We're just old.
We are.
No, it's super yucky.
Our 10-year high school reunion is in May.
I'm not going.
Years. Oh, I'm not either. But funny story, I was senior class vice president, and I'm technically supposed to plan it, but catch me not there. Sorry, all.
Yeah.
You buddies that you all know who you are.
Yeah. Oh, I'm absolutely not going.
Catch me not there.
I'm. You don't like to go out much anyway.
But I don't even do anything. Like, there's nothing planned.
There's nothing planned, and then also I don't know, with like social media, I don't really feel like high school.
They've lost sort of their touch.
Yeah, I know.
The whole nostalgia factor, like, we all know what each other is up to.
Yeah, like if I want to know what someone's up to, I just look
true.
them up on like Instagram or like honestly, LinkedIn is like a wealth of information.
Yeah, it really is.
For like stalking people.
So crazy. LinkedIn of all places. Who would have thought? But
yeah, I don't know. My reading journey obviously started with that. I think it started more with Narnia. I feel like Narnia's when the fantasy hit, but then it was Twilight where I was like, oh, these books make me like, it's not just transporting me to another world. Like, I feel something when I read these.
Yeah.
And like Twilight, they're not good. It's so hard because like I love Twilight and my love for Twilight runs so deep. They're not good books.
And I feel like, again, it's like we were just like at that prime time where we were young enough that we didn't realize that they were maybe not the literary classic books we thought they were. Like, they were not the works of art.
Bella is pretentious as fuck.
Yeah.
Edward's a little crazy.
Mm-hmm. But we didn't know that, it was our toe dip.
The first romance I read.
Yeah, it was the first romance.
I think you're right.
Sure.
Yeah, definitely.
And then for Maggie and I mean, we really enjoyed the House of Night series, which I think that led me more into like the fantasy romance genre, because Twilight was much more about the romance and it was paranormal. But the House of Night is like sort of a vampire like academy, but there's a lot more magic. There's actual magic. There's like multiple love interests. There's like all these interesting side characters. So I think that was when I kind of got more into like fantasy romance as a genre and not just straight up fantasy from Narnia. And
like Harry Potter, because I feel like we were also at a time.
Yeah.
Like, we were still kids when Harry Potter was being written. Like, I've seen every single Harry Potter movie in theaters. I don't know about you guys, but the first movie came out, I want to say, in like 2001.
Yeah, I remember.
The first movie came out, and I was old enough to see it. I was young.
Yeah, I was like, I mean, you were like 6.
Yeah,
or 5.
But hey.
But Brie was there.
We were there. It was like, it was still geared towards us. I mean, they were, what, 10? And like, the characters are 10.
Yeah, they're very young.
So, like, we still like had such prime like fantasy, but then what a time to like be young adults, where now it is so popular to have fantasy that's geared towards adults, which
incredible.
I think is so amazing for all of the readers who love those things. I think it's really taken a long time for fantasy to catch up to be an adult genre also, and not like fantasy, the romantasy, as you like to call it, like as an adult genre, and not just separate things that you sort of had to give up that love for fantasy, I feel like, as you got older, maybe 20 years ago, and that's not a thing anymore, even 10 years ago.
I just feel like, and maybe this is just like me not knowing much or like my perception, but I just feel like Twilight kind of started it, right? In the sense of like, we middle schoolers loved Twilight. My sister was a high schooler. She loved Twilight. There were tons of adults out there who like loved Twilight.
Oh, yeah.
It was obviously written for a younger audience, but Twilight was one of those things that sort of brought all these people together. And I think it's what told booksellers, for better or for worse, that YA sells, right?
Oh, yeah.
YA sells to all genres. We saw the same thing when it came to Divergent. We saw the same thing when it came to the Hunger Games. Everybody was reading those.
True.
And now I'm really happy to see that there is fantasy romance geared towards adults. I'm happy to see that there's been a slight shift in like not everything is marketed as YA, because nothing pisses me off more than when I see like what I have read and know to contain things that are like not okay for like kids, like in the YA section.
Especially because YA can be from someone who is 12 to someone who is 18. Like that is a really big age range, and when you like think about it,
your maturity is so different from 12, what you're in 7th grade, to being a senior in high school. That's a totally different kid, and I don't feel like books should be geared towards both and like kind of lumped together.
Like there are obviously those books that can cross those genres, and obviously those are going to be like your fade to black romances. But for the most part, I mean, I'm really happy to see like the separation with like adult themes and mature content. Like I enjoy a YA still, but I don't know, the adult fantasy books, I just think just have more interesting concepts and things to explore.
Yeah.
Well, and I like an adult character. Like I think as I've gotten older, I don't want to read about like a 15-year-old or a 16-year-old. Like those definitely have their place in their time where they're enjoyable, but you know, I feel like I read fantasy to have that like escape from reality. And it's so much easier to do that with a character who you can relate to, not only on like an age range, but like, you know, I feel like so many of these books have like these strong female protagonists. And like, I want to read about someone who's closer to my age. I don't want to read about a 14-year-old who could kick my ass, because that's just not what I want to see.
I age them up in my head sometimes. If I'm reading YA, I'll age them up in my head 10 years. So it's like, she's 15. I'm like, no, she's 25 now. And like, it doesn't change the story. Yeah. Or like, if there's things that like in the story are just aggressively young, I just am like, I do not see that or perceive that. In my head, they're in their 20s.
For sure. For sure. And I think it also, like you were saying, Maggie, makes it a lot more relatable of, I am knee deep in Throne of Glass. I put it off because I can't tell you why. I just really, for some reason, I thought maybe it wasn't as good as everybody hyped it up to be, but it really is truly as good as everyone makes it out to be.
It's her masterpiece.
It is truly a work of art. But anyways, in spoiler alert, but talking about like,
everything's going to be quite spoilery if we choose to talk about stuff, so everybody be forewarned.
Yes.
And hopefully we'll like, if you hear us talk about a book, there may be spoilers.
Yes. We will probably do like book reviews and different things here, and we will have different warnings about spoiler content so that if you haven't read anything, you'll know ahead of time. But just as like one theme that's pulled out of like the Throne of Glass series is they're talking about like miscarriages and stillborns and things like that, which is something as being, you know, in our late 20s are things that us and our friends kind of relate to, which at 14 or 15 I would have been like, what?
No, I would have had no
like no concept, but like
no
you can
or
really
no emotional connection to it. Like,
no,
you maybe understood what that is, but until you have like someone you know that or care about that's experienced it, it's kind of this nebulous concept.
Yeah, it just goes right over you, and it just adds no like value to the story, to the plot, to the character arc, the character development, anything. But it really does make a difference now, like being older and having characters that go through those different things that you can actually relate to, that can maybe happen to you and your friends in your life. It really makes a difference, and it makes it so much more engaging as an adult reader to be able to have those themes in books and relate to them.
Yeah. Oh, I completely agree.
But as Lauren said, we really just wanted to do this because I am in a book club myself with my friends, but they are not fantasy readers. They really love a modern romance. They like dark romance, lots of smut and lots of spice, which
like mafia romance.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, I enjoy, but I really do still love fantasy. I love having a world that is so not our own and things that are not our own, and fae and magic and dragons, like all those things still appeal to me at 27, almost 28, as much as they did when I was 12. And Lauren reminded me that she also loves fantasy, and then also reminded me that Maggie loves fantasy, and here we are. That I just didn't have anybody in my daily life that could talk about these things, and it's very limited. It's a very niche group of people.
It's growing wider, but I mean, like, you know, Maggie and I, obviously, we've always kind of read the same books, and so we've always sort of told each other what we're reading and all of that, and then, you know, we'll text about it, we'll talk about it on the phone, and we have great conversations, but sometimes I'm like, it'd be nice to have some more input besides, like, the two of us just sort of chatting about the same books, like, having other perspectives, and then also, like, you know, I've had a few other friends that read kind of this type of stuff, but nothing where it's like a space where we have dedicated time to sit and talk about this, and like that's what I really wanted.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely having the room to be able to sit and have a full-on discussion, especially like for the Sarah J. Maas's and even the, you know, J.K. Rowling's, but like where like the fandom runs deep and the theories run deep, and like some of these authors, when they create these worlds, the amount of thought and research and preparation and intertwining of different things that go into them, that as a reader you start to unfold as you get deeper into a series, that like those are the things that keep you up at night when you start connecting the dots of all these different things, and you need the hour to sit and discuss them, because it's not a 5-minute conversation. It's like
better. Like instead of me literally talking my boyfriend's ear off about these things, he does not care. He does not care. He does not read. He has no idea what I'm talking about. He has no input to provide, but I'll just talk his ear off about the theories, and he's just like, okay, that's cool. You know? And so it's just like, I just wanted to have a space where we can do that with other people that are like interested in these things.
So we hope you are just as much interested as we are, because we have many thoughts and feelings about many books. Yes. We are very excited to share them with all the other romantasy lovers out there. Very excited.
Very, very stoked to be here.
I know, I feel like we waited so long to do this, and we've talked for how many hours, just the three of us, where like I feel like broadening it and seeing other people's perspectives, or seeing like what other people caught and maybe we missed, that's such like a cool part of these books.
That's so true. Like seeing what other people point out, or like their theories and how things like tie in and tie together, just like things that I would have literally never thought of.
Yeah, I've learned so much about some of my favorite books just going on Instagram and on TikTok and seeing just the easiest thing of even how an author wrote something that was italicized that I didn't realize was italicized, that like
repetition of words.
Yeah,
that's
like
a huge one.
So many things, like there's just so much stuff to pick up on that so many others can help contribute to the conversation to help you enjoy a story, and just makes it so much richer.
Yeah.
So great. We're going to go back to our favorite reads of 2023 as we gear up for 2024. Lauren, start us off.
I'm ready. I do have the notes now.
Great. Did you make a list like this? Because I didn't.
I sure did not. I have no list. I shall be looking on my phone.
Oh, absolutely. You guys are spitballing? Oh, no. That Lauren, made me nervous.
The amount of time and preparation that Lauren has done for this is astronomical, but you should not be surprised, as she is a literal researcher. Attorney. So
my job is reading, research, and writing.
Yes.
Yes,
very much so.
I try to be organized. It doesn't always happen. So my top, I try to put them in order of like my actual like tops and how I would order them, but like some of them I could scoot around a little.
For sure.
I could scoot. I'm open.
It's open to debate.
The absolute best book that I read this year, Kingdom of Ash.
Oh, I agree.
That's possibly one of the best books I've read in my entire life.
You'll get there.
She has hyped this book up so much, y'all. And I am like, what would you say, 3/4 of the way done with Tower of Dawn, and I am like 98% done with what is it?
Empire Storm.
I cannot remember the names of these books. But I'm so close. So catch me tomorrow. I will probably be there too. Well, maybe the day after. But
Kingdom of Ash is long.
It's like 900 pages.
I know, but
all
I'm so
of it is worth it
because you keep hyping it up, and
so good.
It is Sarah J. Maas's best book she's ever written. It's her masterpiece. It's difficult for me to think of another book that tops Kingdom of Ash. Truly. Like the culmination. I mean, you've got like 7 books before that to get to know these characters, to get to know the story. You get all these POVs. You've got this insane storyline converging at one major point. So absolutely the best book I read this year. Number 2, I gotta put Six of Crows / Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. You have not read them, Brie.
No, I have not.
They are... I think that they are technically YA. That's the one specifically where I age them all up 10 years because, like, there's this main character, Kaz, and he is, like, what is he, like, the best, like, he's, like, the top crime lord in the city or something like that. But he's, like, 16. But he's, like, already done so much. And I said, no. He's 26. I will take no comments on that. All of them are in their 20s. Thank you. Crooked Kingdom, though, Crooked Kingdom and Six of Crows are incredible in the sense of, like, they're multi-POV. They're kind of odd for this podcast because there's a little bit of romance. It's really not that much. But they're like heist novels. So, like, half of the book is this crazy heist where you get the POVs of all the different characters while they're pulling this off, and everybody's, like, in different locations. So it's like one thing's going on here, cut to the next chapter, the next POV, they hear an explosion, they're thinking, what is that? And it was like, you just learned what that was in the previous chapter. They're so good. Really, really enjoyed those. Number 3, The Inadequate Heir, Danielle Jensen, the Bridge Kingdom series.
I never made it that far. I started reading.
You're really missing out. Like,
I started reading, ma'am. Okay, the end of the.
I know. Well, Throne of Glass takes precedence.
Okay, listen,
I know.
We gotta preface this.
Yes.
I had a baby this year.
And he's very, very sweet.
He is very sweet, but he takes up a lot of time. And I had a reading goal of 100 books this year. I did not reach that. I tuned it down to 80. I still didn't reach that. So I got put in a major time crunch to finish Throne of Glass. Basically, well, kind of by the end of the year, but really by the end of January.
Just before January 30th, yeah.
But I really just, like, hit the ground running and got all the audiobooks. So I'm, like, really trying to get through those. But I kind of hopped around a bit. So I read the first 2 Bridge Kingdom books and then said skirt and then scooted over to Throne of Glass. And so I'll make my way back to it.
I think the Inadequate Heir is the best book out of the whole series. I know you were a little bit confused by my love of the Bridge Kingdom because I am notorious about saying that I prefer love over lust in my books, like in my romance books. And the first Bridge Kingdom, I agree, is, like, very much lust, but the story is so good. Again, kind of an odd choice because, like, there's no magic. The only fantasy is, like, the world they're set in, but there's no creatures, there's no magic, like, nothing like that. But I just thought it was so good and so well written, and the characters are amazing. Number 4 is A Fire Endless by Rebecca Ross. Her Elements of Cadence series is underrated, I think. Everybody talks about Divine Rivals, which I have not read. But I think her Elements of Cadence series is really, really good. Number 5, we're coming up with another Throne of Glass. Heir of Fire.
Oh, good book.
Heir of Fire is so good because it's when the story, like, shifts and gets good. Like, I think the first, like, if we're talking just Throne of Glass, what is it, Crown of Midnight, and The Assassin's Blade. Mm-hmm. Those 3, I think, to me, are kind of their own segment of the series. And then I would say, like, Heir of Fire and Queen of Shadows are kind of their own. And then you move into, like, the third part of the series, which is The Tower of Dawn, Empire of Storms, Kingdom of Ash. So I thought Heir of Fire was just so good because of how it changed the story and like changed the trajectory of the whole series.
I've seen so many people post about that as like their comfort read.
Air
like
Fire?
That is their comfy cozy. I want a good book to pick up. It's Air of Fire.
I think that's a good perspective because like
I don't like as much as great as Kingdom of Ashes.
It's not a cozy read. I'll tell you that.
Either no,
it's gonna hurt your feelings a lot. Well, then number 6 is Dawn of No Worlds, Carissa Broadbent. I have not finished the series, admittedly, even though I love the book so much. The audio of it was amazing. I really like the audio, actually.
It is in the repertoire to be read. I just have not made it that far. I just have a feeling that I'm really going to like it based off of so many wonderful reviews I have seen of the book.
It's really good. Number 5, and this is okay. Admittedly, I read like all 40 Ice Planet Barbarian books this year.
Oops.
Which is a stupid amount, and I did read all of them and I enjoyed them. So I feel like I had to put Ice Planet Barbarians on the list somewhere, but the first Ice Planet Barbarians is not like my favorite. My favorite is the spin-off Ice Home series, which starts with Lauren's Barbarian.
Oh,
nice.
Fitting.
I loved it. So if you ever get through all the Ice Planet Barbarians and it's time to move into Ice Home, do it.
Is there a Brie's Barbarians?
I don't think there's any Bries or Maggies.
Listen, even though the name...
He's got 4 arms. Lauren's Barbarian has 4 arms. He can do a lot.
Wow, okay.
He can do a lot.
Can only imagine.
Oh, damn. Then it's Empire of Storms. So sorry, I read all of Throne of Glass this year, so of course they're on there. Empire of Storms, incredible. Then I put Fourth Wing / Iron Flame. I really should have put Iron Flame instead of Fourth Wing. Actually, no. I take that back. I think I like Fourth Wing more, almost.
I can definitely see you liking Fourth Wing more than Iron Flame. Yeah, you specifically, because you are obviously more into the romance. And Iron Flame is not that. Like
more or less.
It's not even that. It's like it's such a typical second book. Like it is such a build up. It is so much more world building and like scene setting. It's a much more fast paced.
I love that part of it though, but spoiler, there's a breakup sort of thing that's going on throughout Iron Flame. And we can talk about this when we do Iron Flame, but like just Violet's like reactions to Xaden during that whole time. She as a character just really pissed me off through a lot of that book. I love the world building. I like the relationships, but Violet specifically like kind of pissed me off. Like she just annoyed me. I feel like I still have more, girl.
You really outdid yourself.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry. Well, I
don't even know if I have 10
up on my numbering, so I think
when I was going through this,
like 2 extra.
Looking at this, because again, I did not read enough books this year.
I mean,
and let
me,
me,
baby, though.
But yes, I also tend to read other genres.
Yeah.
So for the top 10 reads, there would be other books.
Yeah.
Which I don't want to include in this.
Yeah.
So I probably have like a top 5, really.
That's fine. I just finished 2 Twisted Crowns. Well, it's One Dark Window and 2 Twisted Crowns. It's like I think it's a duology by Rachel Gilling. I recommend. It's not really, the romance was like pretty lackluster for me, but the world building and the story was cool. And then we have The Endless War, which I love. And because I needed another one to throw in there, I threw in A Fate of Wrath and Flame by K.A. Tucker.
Oh, I did like that.
It was a surprisingly enjoyable read. Like I downloaded it simply because I was driving, I needed an audiobook, and it was available. And I had like seen the cover on like some Instagram post. Cool take, I feel like, on a fantasy romance. Like kind of a modern girl gets dropped into like a fantasy world. Which I thought was a cool take.
I think we can all agree that in our top books, Fourth Wing / Iron Flame.
Oh, for sure.
Is on there. Just hands down. Sorry to just jump on that bandwagon, but full steam ahead, so good.
You know what?
Big love.
I have no shame in like being basic with my book likes. Like
sometimes things are good because they're good, and like they're popular because they're good, and they just are.
Yeah,
and they just hit.
Yeah, they just do.
They hit. They do it for me. Like
they just do it for you.
Yeah. What you got, Maggie? Or
yeah,
Brie?
go ahead.
Please
go.
Well, I was just trying to think of ones that I like read this last year. Like,
talk about the Spark of the Everflame. You really like those.
Oh yeah, like I did. Brie, have you read those ones?
No.
I truly downloaded it on like a whim from, I think it was Kindle Unlimited.
Aren't they, like, you thought they were KU trash, but they're not?
I did think they were KU trash, but I actually really enjoyed them. And I kind of had no expectations. And I read them, like the three of them, like back to back to back really quick. Couldn't really tell you what happened to them anymore because it was a while ago.
But you liked them.
But I did. I really liked them.
Who is the author on that?
It is Penn Cole.
Okay.
I can also just say, you know, Lauren really went hard with Throne of Glass, Sarah J. Maas. I am absolutely and utterly obsessed with Crescent City.
Oh, yeah.
I just read both of those right before I read Throne of Glass, which, don't get me wrong, I really enjoy Throne of Glass. But, man, there was something so interesting. Because I feel like there's no fantasy book that is set in, like, a modern like,
fantasy world.
Like,
it was,
present. Like,
cool.
was very interesting, and it's even more interesting knowing that it's like a like multi-universe setting and that they connect and like
spoiler
the dichotomy between ACOTAR and Crescent City is so interesting to me, knowing that they are going to connect so deeply.
This would have been if I had read them. I read them last year. Otherwise, like ACOTAR or Crescent City, that's why they're not on the list, because I did read them like
big love. I was
year.
Hella confused, but like the amount of times I listened to both of those on audiobook to try and get through them quickly because they are such large books, and the amount of times I would have my headphones in, walking around my house, listening to that book, and just gasp because of some plot twist. And my husband is sitting on the couch and is like, "What?" I'm like, "My book, I'm sorry." And he would just roll his eyes because
he doesn't get it.
He just doesn't. And he's not a reader. He's not a fantasy lover as I am. And so I would really just drove him crazy for the 4 days, I think it took me to read those two books.
I was shocked how quickly you finished those.
Well, there's nothing better to do than when you're awake at 2:30 in the morning feeding your baby than to put your headphones in and listen to an audiobook. Like, you really just bust through them that way.
Smart way to do it. I just was like, you consume those books faster than I thought possible.
Yes, it was quite speedy for me. I am already a pretty fast reader, but let me tell you, I have discovered audiobooks, and
that's over 1,600 pages.
Yeah, that is my love. Yeah, audiobooks, truly.
I do love. Yes,
I have spent like $200 in a week on Audible because
you spend on books, girl.
Oh, it's bad. It's an issue, but I will say probably top of list for me is Crescent City. I really, really enjoyed them. Yeah,
and if I had read them this year, it'd be for sure on that list. But I read them at the end of 20.
Sky and Breath would probably be top.
That was another one that I really I held off. I don't know why.
I think it's hard when you like love a series like ACOTAR so like strongly. Like, you really were like worried that nothing's gonna live up to it.
Well, and I think like for me, when I read ACOTAR, that was like it kind of reignited my spark. Like, I've read over the years, but nothing. There have been very few books over the last like several years that like it reignited my love of reading. Like, oh my god, can't put it down. Like, there have been a few over the last few years, but like admittedly I was in school the whole time. I hadn't really read much. And then ACOTAR was like, oh my god, amazing, just so incredible. And then when I finished it, obviously I was like, okay, well, I have to find out what else this author writes. And I saw Crescent City, and Crescent City was just like a little bit more high fantasy than ACOTAR, to the point where like, one, I was confused, as we all were. Two, I like felt silly almost, because like I had this internalized like thing that these types of books and liking these types of things as an adult are silly. That's a silly like when I first read ACOTAR, I was like, this is a very silly book. It's not. I just have like an internalized thing that's like, hey girl, you're an adult. You should,
because like they've made a whole new genre. That the new adult genre is a brand new thing that it did not exist. That if you liked fantasy, it had to stop when you basically hit 25, I feel like, because the books and the stories and the characters never aged older than that.
They were just
so that everybody was young, and like the themes were the same, like everything was the same. It just did not age with you, and that has ceased. That is no longer a thing.
Right.
That we like as a generation, our age group is now old enough that we still continue to like those things, and now we're old enough that we're writing those things, and there are people who are putting that content out because that's what they like. When that, it would be like the Brandon Sanderson, I think is his name, that author, where it's like the sci-fi.
Oh yeah,
where like there are some that existed, like there's some that existed, but not. I would say that were maybe like female focused. That a lot of it is like sci-fi is,
or not romance.
Is like such a male thing, such a guy thing. Space and Lord of the Rings and Star Wars and like all those types of things. Like I feel like those have all existed. That is like sci-fi fantasy is something that has existed on its own. But yeah, incorporating it with romance that would like really hit home for women is a new thing.
I think too, just all of these female authors for me, like I kind of actively avoid reading male authors, especially when it comes to fantasy, because I don't like the way women are written.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, this new sort of reemergence of fantasy, and specifically fantasy romance as a female dominated genre right now is really cool and really interesting. And like, not that I would never read a book by a man. I actually really want to read Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn series, but just the way women are written in some of those series, I'm just sort of like, meh.
Yeah.
Like kind of put off without knowing.
Yeah. And so it was just always kind of a male dominated space. And now I feel like that's changed. And so I guess going back to like when I read Crescent City, like if I had seen Crescent City in a store, I never would have picked it up. I read the back cover. Back cover does not do justice on how amazing that story is. I would have never picked it up or bought it.
I'm telling you, the twists. Oh man, really just sent me over the edge. I just hard eyes, big time.
What else do you have for books? Because you read more than me. You finished. Did you finish
girl,
your
you
100
have
book
been.
Yeah, I'm at 100.
You've been putting work in.
Yeah.
I did put in work.
No,
but I feel like I don't know if you guys feel this way. Like thinking back to like what I read in January, I have no concept anymore. Like,
yeah,
some of them blur together too. Unfortunately, some of these fantasy romances are just so similar, and like I eat that shit up every time.
Oh, I do. I devour those books. Yeah. They are done, but it's kind of like I read it and it's gone. Like I couldn't even tell you if I liked it.
Like, what do you remember reading? That I think that was kind of how I did my list. Was I went back through my Goodreads, and like to be honest, like half of the things I read this year are Planet Barbarians, but.
Well, when there's a million of them, it makes sense.
Right, like how do you not get them blurred together?
Yeah, but like I was looking back on my Goodreads and I was like, which books do I remember like reading and liking? And that's kind of how I picked it.
I mean, that's like, right. Like, I feel like that's a good way to look at it. Like
what's on your list that you actually remember?
Well, so I'm in like a book club for work. And so I feel like that was several books I read and they were fine. They were, none of them were like quite to my taste. Like I definitely enjoyed the read. I don't know if I would pick them up again and again and again to read them like I would with other books, like basically anything from SJM. Like I feel like if I saw that and I was like, what do I want to do today? And I would just pick it up and read it. And I could pick it up wherever the book was and be like, okay, I know what's going on. But I don't even know. Like I loved the Touch of Darkness series this year.
Oh, yeah. I feel like, I think I read that. I didn't put it on because I read it last year. I read it like in December.
Last year and what is it? A game of...
all of the Hades versions.
A game of Fate?
A Game of Gods came out this year. I actually liked the Game of Gods.
It's on my bookshelf behind us, so we were just looking.
I know, like we're all looking.
I haven't read it. There. The amount of books that are on this bookshelf that I have purchased and not yet read is quite alarming.
Around your house, Brie.
Yeah, I do.
Read all of those?
Oh,
the ones that are tucked away in the spare bedroom back there?
Oh, yes. Those have all been
right
read.
Now underneath your
well, those are cookbooks, in my defense.
Oh, okay. That's fine then. I was like, because I can see more over here. I look around and there's stuff all over this house.
No, so pretty much everything on like this shelf is like a display shelf. So just about almost every single book on there has been read. The only one that has not is A Game of Gods. And I have the new Murtaugh from the Aragon series. That's a brand new book that I just haven't had a chance because other things have sort of, I've been in the middle of things.
Raising a kid and all.
Yeah.
Birthing a human took a lot of.
Well, that book just came out. It came out the same week that Iron Flame came out. And so like I was sort of all consumed by Iron Flame. But all of those have been read, but pretty much everything down here on this bottom shelf, The Daughter of No Words, I have not read her yet.
I always say Words too.
I just went on a book haul today and I bought Powerless. I'm really excited for that next year. The Hurricane Wars I'm really excited for next year.
Hurricane Wars almost won the Goodreads book of the year over Iron Flame. I think it was kind of close, actually.
One series that I really like that I know you, Maggie, are sort of so about. I really like what Lurks Beyond the Veil, or Lies Beyond the Veil.
No, I like that series.
Oh my god.
The one I feel like you and I kind of maybe don't 100% agree on is the whole Gold series.
Oh, Plated Prisoner.
The Raven Kennedy series. I have not read.
I enjoyed it
enough. I don't think I would pick it up, but
I would read it again. I don't know if I would pick it over some of the other books that I have since read and really liked, but at the time of reading, I did enjoy it because it sort of itched the ACOTAR scratch, because
I think you flipped that around.
Well, in the sense of like, I know, but like I had read it and it was when I started reading again last year. So like I have sort of over the years gone in and out of reading, and you know, life gets in the way, and I feel like for a time there it just like wasn't quite as cool to read.
It wasn't cool. No.
You know, like
when I think when you're busy in school and stuff, and granted, I know we were just talking about how we all basically 6 years ago we graduated, but I feel like I was kind of burnt out on books from after college.
Yeah.
And I think it took me a long time to kind of find books that I wanted to read again. Like I think I lost that kind of, I don't even know what to call it, but like the desire to want to pick up a book.
The spark and like almost the imagination to want to do that, because it like they really take up space in your head.
They do.
And I just sort of like fell away from it, and I just sort of fell out of love with reading. And last year I just didn't realize that, first off, I had never heard of the term bodice ripper. So I didn't even know that like what is smut, that like that even existed. Like I didn't realize that was like a thing in books. And so I had read Neon Gods and was like, oh my god, like this is like for adults, and really sort of fell back in love with it and was just consuming so fast. And that's right when ACOTAR was really blowing up, I would say, like all over the internet. Obviously it had been written for quite a few years, so it wasn't a new series or anything, but it was just really gaining popularity online. And I read it and I enjoyed it, and then I read From Blood and Ash, and like same thing, that like they were itching the scratch that I had, that I just didn't realize that these books sort of existed for adults too. And What Lies Beyond the Veil really did that for me, and Plated Prisoner really did that for me. So What Lurks Beyond the Fates is just I think that's the name of it.
I think so.
Did I mix it up? They're all the last one. No,
they're all
right?
really similar.
They all just are so similar.
Well, I could like,
but that one, because that one came out last year, and What Lurks Beyond the Fates, Between the Fates. I'm sorry, What Lurks Between the Fates, Beyond. My God, they all confuse me. I know. But What Lurks Between the Fates, really, I just love that series so much, because I think that really had some twists and turns, and I did not see them as a reader coming, and it really hooked me, and I enjoyed it, because also it was the same thing where they're fae, but not in this, like, I don't know what people think of.
Like, because when I first read ACOTAR and it was like, oh, like the fairy realm, I was thinking like Tinkerbell. Yes. And it was totally not what I was going to say. But I really didn't have like a grasp of it.
I didn't know anything about fae novels.
My husband just makes fun of me because he thinks, he calls ACOTAR my fairy porn, and he is like thinking of like Tinkerbell, like twinkly little fairies with wings, and I was like, no, the only thing that makes them fairy or fae is their ears, and the fact that they have magic, like it has nothing to do
I explained it to my boyfriend as like they're basically elves. He's got a weird thing about Legolas. Like as a kid, he was really really obsessed with Legolas, like specifically Orlando Bloom.
So obviously, like, as we all should be.
So elves is a frame of reference that he got when I was like, they're basically elves, and he was like, oh. Because he thought the same thing, that they were just like little
and so like, that's why I feel like so many people just think about it. And anyways, I just it itched the scratch. Like the Plated Prisoners still was like filling that void as I was like consuming so fast. So like I don't know that now, if I read them now, I would maybe feel the same way.
Like with a more discerning eye.
Yeah, but like at the time it was just like, so like we were talking about a while ago, that like sort of like face value, that I just like read it as what it is. It's just like just the enjoyment of like,
No, fun.
wow, this is fantasy, and like they have sex and it's not, and they kissed in Fade to Black, because Fade to Black has its moments, but like sometimes that's not what you want.
No, sometimes you want a little bit more, especially when, for me, the spice has to like
add to the plot,
add to the story, add to the plot, at least to some degree. Otherwise, like, listen, I do love a good like Kindle Unlimited, just smutty, dirty book, just to get me like, when I've been reading really intense fantasy with like really intense world building and like a ton of battles and like court intrigue. Well, smutty, dirty books like have their time and their place, and like
it's a good filler, a good little
filler.
palate cleanser.
I like them as a palate cleanser for sure.
Like if when you finish Kingdom of Ash and you have now read how many pages of
you need just like
you need something that is like a quick, easy, no brain power, no complex.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, we were talking about like Fade to Black has its time and place, obviously, but so does smut. And generally I like when the like smut adds to the storyline or adds to the romance or something like that. But I also like a good just smutty book for a little break.
No, for sure.
So it's interesting to have these like books. I think again like the fantasy romance genre is just so cool in the sense of like it takes these traditional bodice ripper books along with the books that we loved as kids and sort of melds them into one genre.
Right, like I feel like the first book I can like distinctly remember reading as an adult, like an adult, and being like, oh, I really like reading. I kind of don't know why I stopped, was Outlander.
I was about to say, are you about to talk about Outlander? Because like I was thinking about
where like I mean obviously there's like a fantasy element, like there's fantastical things that happen, you know, there's like very minimal magic.
Yeah.
She travels through time, but again, it's more like a historical fiction. Like there's a fantasy element of how this like historical fiction happens.
Yeah.
But I feel like that was such a good kind of like, oh, I really like this. But again, where you're kind of talking about like there wasn't that like huge shift into fantasy. It was kind of like a little bit, you know, like a taste of fantasy, and it kind of, you know, is reminiscent.
It's mainly like historical fiction romance, and like, you know, you still get some of the fantasy elements, you know, and then there's battles and like they're in like the Scotch Highlands in the 1700s, so everybody fights with swords and stuff. So you kind of get some of that, but yeah, I agree. To me, like I was going to talk about how obviously we all read maybe a little bit in college, but it really wasn't a thing. Like
I feel like I didn't like. If I had downtime, I wanted to watch garbage TV and just not have to put any brain power into anything.
Yeah, and like we were just so busy, and I feel like for us specifically, you know, college was just a time of you're spending time with friends, and
it's just so much like more social.
Like it was a very, very social time. And then I think we all very much had a brief moment where we were very, very social during the undergrad years, and then after we graduated, and I don't want to say went our separate ways, but like kind of were the sensible, the two of you were still down the street from each other, but for so many of your friends, like you spread out again, and like not everybody is down the street anymore, and so you sort of have that more time and just more downtime, more you time, just more flexibility, because you are not constantly on the go. And working a 40-hour work week really will take it out of you, where you just want to sit and read a book more so than I like wanted to do that in college for sure.
I read all of Outlander in that year after we graduated, before I went to law school, like in that year in between. And I feel like that was good to like give me a little taste. And there was like there was 8 of them out at the time, and they get pretty long.
I don't even remember if I read, like, I'm really trying to think, like, I feel like I read small.
I feel like you read something.
Small, like, I don't want to say fan fiction, but like kind of more like Wattpad type books, not like actual published things, more
like self-published things, like shorter, like novellas, or
definitely novellas, like just like small things where it kind of like kept me interested. Itched the scratch, because I didn't know that like this existed. Like it like really truly blew my mind. A little over a year ago, I had no idea, and I have read a stupid amount of books in a year, like an actual like 12 months year.
Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, so as I had mentioned, Neon Gauze is what started it for me. I read the first 3 books, really enjoyed them, got Radiant Sin, and then just it sat on my shelf for actual months. Like I just sat in my bedroom and looked at it, like never touched it, didn't open it, had bought it, knew that I liked the series, and then for whatever reason, I just like had no interest in picking it up. And then I one day just did and read Radiant Sin, and oh my God, is it good. It really did it for me.
Yeah.
That it was so interesting. Book 3 in that series sets you up. I know Lauren is not into it as much.
I don't want to read a YA. Like, I totally get that some people are like.
I didn't realize those were YA.
Love to read.
Oh no.
Oh.
No.
Okay.
They're like erotica.
Okay,
For sure.
So.
Yeah.
I said YA, and I was like, "Am I wrong?"
No. No, you were about to say something and you switched, but it sounded like you were about to say YA.
Oh, yes. No. It
is the third book, Wicked.
Oh, that's why.
What is it? What is the third book called? Wicked something?
Wicked Beauty.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wicked Beauty is a throuple type situation, and
why choose too.
Yeah, like why choose is a better way to say it.
Yeah.
And Lauren's just not quite into that, and I sort of read it to read it because I just like the series, and so I read it to read it. But that one itself, again, the first book, it is a Persephone and Hades retelling. Don't even, Lauren. The first book is a Hades and Persephone retelling, and it sets you up. And
then the third?
It's Helen of Troy.
This is the third book.
Oh, okay.
The first book is Hades and Persephone.
I thought it was like the couple.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, no. So each book is a different couple throughout. Okay. It's like, so the reason I really like Neon Gods is because what started me, a series that I liked as a kid, was Percy Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
I really liked the Greek mythology, and so again, it's like tying this into things that I've always had an interest in that I didn't think I could have an interest in anymore as an adult. And so Neon Gods is Hades and Persephone. The second one, I can't think of the name.
Psyche and Eros.
Yeah, where
because
are
I
they?
Just read it.
They must not be on the shelf, so I can't think of
They're on your bedroom shelf.
Oh yeah, you're right.
I love
they are in my room.
Where they are.
I saw them because I saw them there.
But the second one is Psyche and Eros, and then the third one is Helen of Troy with Achilles, and I can never say his name. I cannot pronounce it. I say it wrong every single time. I always want to say Protocolus, but I know that's not it.
I don't know what it is.
I don't know either.
I'm just because it doesn't sound right.
It doesn't sound right. But that is like sort of how it's written, so in my brain that's what I always say. But anyways, it's the three of them. And then this one, Radiant Sin, is, I want to say her name is Clarissa, and she is like a minor Greek mythology type character with Apollo. And in the third book, in Wicked Beauty, it just sets the world up so much more, and it gets so much deeper and so much richer, and it adds so many other Greek mythology stories into it that are much, much more minor, smaller, maybe not as well known Greek mythology. And then in the fourth book is where it really starts to tie together, and then there's going to be, I think, 6 or 7 books, like the titles and stuff have already been released. She does. She very, and I really enjoy her. I enjoy her stuff so much. Because they're sort of easy reads. Like, I don't want to say that where it diminishes it all, but like they're just, it's easy content to consume. Sorry. And I just really liked it. Like Radiance, and I had this, like I said, like below 0 expectations because it sat on my shelf for so long, didn't want to pick it up. Finally picked it up and was like, oh my God, what have I been missing out on? It's so good. If you can just like do it to get through it, it's so minor. Just again, like take it at face value just to like get through it, and then you'll never have to think about it again.
Who knows? Maybe I'll enjoy the Why Choose. I just don't feel like I will, and I feel like I've sort of come across it in other books. But just so you know what? Like I liked the other ones, so maybe I will.
Well, I think it could have its place.
It can have its time and its place, and especially if there's like a lot more world building, then maybe I'll be more interested.
It is. It sets it up because the way that the series is started, like you really feel like they're going to be interconnected standalones, and as you get further into the books, they're not. That the fourth book, you cannot read the fourth book without having at least read the third book. You could probably go without reading 1 and 2, but you cannot read 4 without having read 3. So it will not make sense.
Yeah, I think you could read 2 without having read 1.
Nope, but it will no longer be that way, which is so interesting, and I don't think I've ever had that before with books that are interconnected standalones. Like that's
a serial romance type of
situation. So good. She's phenomenal. She is like someone who I will pretty much pick up almost anything that she writes because I like her so much.
Read the the Dragon Bride or whatever.
Oh, yeah. We should probably put that on there.
I want to put that on there because...
Is it the same author?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
So we took a trip to Barnes & Noble today, and we came across an employee, and she was very interested in the books that we were looking at, and she recommended The Dragon Bride because the cover is quite comical.
I explained to Barbarian, she was like, oh, girl, you want to see embarrassing covers?
Mm-hmm.
Read the, like, Dragon Bride, the Katie Roberts book. And I'm low-key interested. Listen, I kind of had a moment where I was like, do I like monster romance?
Yeah.
I have one on my shelf that was, I cannot remember. Oh, you know what? I have this here. Let's see if I can find it. But it was, he was just like a demon, and he just had like a skull face. Like, he did not have a human face at all. Or like
I don't know. Like,
you read this?
No, I didn't read it.
Oh, okay.
But I was going to.
That's okay. I'm not judging you.
I was going to.
Lauren's judging herself.
No, I just...
Yeah, I'm judging myself hardcore on the monster romance thing, but it's fine.
I'm trying to think. See, I really got knee-deep into the hockey romance this year.
I'm down.
Which I know you're not a total modern romance, but they had a hook in me there for a minute. Also, we can also touch on... I know Lauren hasn't read it. Both Maggie and I have Divine Rivals.
Oh, so
I
good.
truly love Divine Rivals.
I need to. It sounds so good.
Ruthless Vows has just come out. Again, I'm in the middle of something, so I haven't had a chance to read Ruthless Vows, and I'm very, very excited for that. Yeah, so that is a highly anticipated read for me for 2024, even though it is a 2023 release.
Same.
But that's what happens when it comes out on December 26th.
I know.
There's very few days left in the year to read, so... Yeah, I guess, like, what's everybody looking forward to reading in 2024?
Crescent City 3, obviously. But
I feel like that's the first one,
That's
right?
the first. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the first.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we're all looking forward to...
What Sleeps Within the Cove.
Okay,
Sleeps
well...
Within the Cove.
I'm very excited
I'm
for
very
What Sleeps
excited
Within
for
the
it.
Cove. Again,
I
I
definitely
really
need
enjoy
to do
this
a
series.
recap, though, because I honestly feel like I don't remember what
anything.
happens. All I remember is she goes into the cove.
Yeah, she goes into the cove to save him. I don't even remember what their names are. Couldn't even tell you what their names are.
But I liked them.
they were good. I like them. Obviously super looking forward to the conclusion to the Touch Of
Oh, yeah, for sure.
series, like the Hades and Persephone saga.
I have been waiting. That was supposed to come out this year. I'm almost positive. And
it got pushed back twice.
Yeah.
She kept pushing it.
Oh, man, devastated.
But I would rather her put out a book that's
like
finalized, especially if it is going to be like the finale of the series.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want it to be like a half-baked book.
And it's the finale
totally.
of both series.
Mhm.
Like, Game of Gods is the last Hades perspective book, and so the Hades, the Persephone books, book number 4, is the conclusion to the whole thing.
Very excited.
Yeah.
I love A Touch of Darkness. So good.
There was another one we talked about that I was really excited for.
I mean, This Woven Kingdom, the third one comes out in February.
I still haven't read that.
Okay. I liked The Ever King, and The Ever Queen comes out in January.
You've been talking about the Ever King like a lot.
I know, I just want someone else to
I
read
need to
it.
because you've been talking about, like, I'm pretty sure it's on
The Peter
my-
Pan retelling?
No, that's The Never King,
Oh
not
my
to be confused
gosh.
with The Ever King,
Okay,
which
yes.
is a piratey one.
Well,
But I did read...
very similar. Wow.
The Ever King is pirate, The Never King is a Why Choose. Peter
oops.
Pan one.
Okay, I'm gonna get
That's
rid-
why I
it's
was-
right here on my thing. I'm gonna get rid of it then.
I read it. I read the whole
Yes.
series.
Oh, did you?
I did.
I'm
but I'm a
almost
series
done.
finisher. Like, Lauren could attest to it. Like, we will read a book, and I'm like, I didn't really like it, but I will pick up the next
You
one.
Oh,
hated
yeah.
the entirety of Laura Thalissa's
Rhapsodic.
Rhapsodic.
Yeah.
You did not like
Mm.
any... I only read Rhapsodic. And
I have
said,
not read
"Oh,
any
I
of
can't
them."
pick
Picking them up.
I have not read
And
it.
she read the entire... Don't. It's not
It's-
very good.
I just, it doesn't, it's not, like, it
No, the
has
writing is-
compelling ideas, but I just don't like
Yes.
the grooming parts of it, and I could not get past it.
And also, the writing.
Oh, yes, there's a lot of mistakes.
There's a lot of mistakes that, like, made it to print, which just drove me nuts. The grooming was kind of gross. I just didn't really love it, and I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to finish the series. You read all 4 of them.
I'm like, what if it gets better?
It didn't, did it? Didn't it get worse?
It didn't get worse, yeah. The typos got, like, more egregious.
It makes me so scared to read any other Laura Thalissa books because people, like, rave about some of her other books.
I'm looking at my shelf to try and see if there's anything back there that I need to read.
Well, so, like, Laura Thalissa writes other books that people say are really good. And I don't know if it's just, like, maybe The Bargainer was just her earlier works. But some people love The Bargainer. But for me, like
I think it's because it's like a Fae book. And I think that...
Yeah, but it wasn't like a good one.
No, I know, but I think it's kind of like what Brie was talking about, like where you're so desperate to scratch your ACOTAR itch.
That you're just
if you see Fae and anything, you're like, maybe I'll give that a go.
Yeah.
And sometimes people are just not literary experts. And it just doesn't bother them as much, you know?
I know it's a personal thing, and that like a lot of people can overlook like these glaring issues. Like that's honestly that took What Lies Beyond the Veil like down a few notches for me, was like the glaring punctuation and like
see, I didn't see
errors.
them. I have no idea what she's talking about.
So
maybe when I read it I did, but it clearly it just like
periods,
left such a bottom tier mark for me that like it was so bottom barrel that the plot carried me through.
I know.
The characters
the enjoyment, and that's
carried
fine.
me through, and I just really like them because I feel like I haven't read anything like that. I think is another reason that I enjoyed that series is that
that series gets a lot of criticism on Goodreads for being a quote unquote ACOTAR ripoff. I disagree.
I feel like a lot of things get dinged for that.
I know, for being,
where I'm like, I don't really see like a ton of parallels.
Maybe she took some inspiration, obviously, with the veil from
like the
ACOTAR.
wall.
The wall. That is the only thing that I can think of that I would say. But everybody has a shadow daddy.
But they function so differently. Like it's not at all the same. And like maybe the queen could be like an Amarantha type situation, I guess.
It gets tons of hate on
but
Goodreads for that.
Every book has a villain. Every book has a protagonist. Like,
and all these
what do you want her to do?
Shadow daddy, so it's like
true.
That I don't know.
Xaden, shadow daddy. Azrael, shadow daddy. I mean, shadow daddy. Like, come on.
I love me an emo.
There wouldn't be a term shadow daddy if there
wasn't a trope.
Yeah, if there weren't several shadow daddies.
The Bargainer series we were just talking about, shadow daddy. Mm-hmm. Everybody is shadow daddy in all of these. I love it. So yeah, I liked What Lies Beyond the Veil. My only issue was like mainly the writing problems. Some of the pacing in the second or the third book. The second book.
I don't remember. I have no idea what she's talking about.
Forest the entire book.
Oh, that's number 2 for sure.
That's number 2. They're walking in a forest the whole book.
Yes.
The first one, really good in terms of story. The third one, pretty good in terms of story. Some scenes that really gave me the ick.
What are you reading?
What did we read? Scenes give you the ick?
People get skinned.
Oh yeah, I forgot that made me nauseous.
It made me a little.
I don't remember that. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't remember that clearly.
So at the dinner, and she gets like
her whole back gets skinned.
Oh my god, yes, I do know what you're talking about. It did not give me the ick. Now that I'm remembering it.
Honestly, that's good writing. If it made me feel like viscerally, disgusted. It made me feel super disgusted. Which honestly, that's good writing.
That was the point.
I'll give her that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it gave me the ick necessarily.
Maybe the ick wasn't the right word.
Yeah, because to me that's like cringe, where that was just like...
No, I was like disgusted. In a good... I mean, again...
Disgusted in a good way.
Disgusted in a good way in the sense of like her writing obviously made me feel something, and that was what she was trying to do. I wasn't like, bored. I was just grossed out.
Well, we're approaching our hour here. So we should... Any other last thoughts for any books that we're looking forward to in 2024? That we know so far?
Oh, Danielle L. Jensen is coming out with the start of a new series in February. It's called A Fate Inked in Blood, I believe. I was wrong. It's not Fae. It's gonna be, I think...
Isn't it like Norse mythology?
It's Norse mythology. Oh my god.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It is.
Norse mythology.
Okay.
Which I think is gonna be really cool. The cover is super pretty, so I'm very stoked on that one.
I don't even remember what's coming out. Honestly, whatever shows up on my Kindle.
I was gonna say whatever shows up on her Kindle is what she will download. It does not matter what it is.
Truly.
Yeah, that is why I get through these series.
Yeah, she's not picky.
I read for the read.
It's for the fun.
Well, this has been a really great first episode. We're really excited to continue. We'll be here every other week. More information to come. I don't really know. We're going to figure it out as we go.
On Spotify?
I think so.
Apple Podcasts?
I think so.
Amazon Music?
Potentially.
Google Play?
I'm not sure.
Okay. you can find us at
somewhere.
YouTube as well, where you can watch us be stupid together.
Yeah. And this is a very special episode because all three of us are together. We don't actually all live in the same place anymore because we're big girls and life happens.
Yeah.
So it'll be occasional that we'll all be together, but this will be a very different format than our traditional setup. So this is special for us because we're here together.
You can also find us on our Instagram, which is run by Brie mainly. It's just Talk Fae To Me on Instagram.
We'll have everything linked below.
And please, if you like this, please comment on our Instagram. Please leave us reviews. Let us know what you think, and let us know if there's certain topics you want us to cover, or if there's certain books that you would recommend that we did not mention today. And let us know what you're excited for in 2024, because I am so down to discover new authors and new series.
Yeah, there are so many good things that are out there, and just it's just such a great time to be a writer, such a great time to be a reader. There's just so much out there to consume, and just so excited to share it all with you. So yeah, comment, like, subscribe, recommend. We're here for it all, and we're very excited for a year of podcasting with you all.